Welcome to another Clutch Burners podcast. This is your home once again for stick shift drag racing, stick shift tech. And in this episode, we take a serious deep dive into clutches with my co-host. Well, it looks like I have two co-hosts there. I got a black cat and the Canadian Chuck Norris, Rich Guido, and I'm BangShift Billy. So, Rich, who do we have tonight?
Well, this cat, um, Tinzy, is with us tonight, and she showed us her fingers, and they weren't even full of dust, which is
No,
yeah,
they're
mine
clean.
aren't either, but it's snowing out, so I have a reason.
Awesome. So yes, Tinzy Smith, the mother of clutches. I'm super excited to talk to her on this and just drill down a bunch of questions, and she has like top level knowledge. So
Ooh.
hi,
I
Tinzy.
hope. Yep. Yep.
Sorry, my internet's flaking out here. I'm just trying to switch it over.
Audio's glitching out just a little bit there. Okay, so tell us how you became the mother of clutches, or at least got the nickname.
So, it's kind of weird. Sometimes I look around and I see where I'm at today and I have no idea how I got here. I work for Elite Motorsports now. Um, doing the clutch on Greg Stansfield's car in Pro Stock, and I'm surrounded by all these phenomenal people with a wealth of knowledge. And sometimes I'm sitting down at the dinner table in a room and I'm like, wow, like look at who's around me. And it's kind of I really have this moment of how did I get here? And it all started when, I loved cars, loved muscle cars as a kid, went to the drag show with my dad, and I don't know, I fell in love with muscle cars and racing, and the first time I ever saw a clutch, I don't know, I just wanted to touch it. I wanted to take apart. I wanted to work on it. I wanted to know everything about it. So started racing with my ex, and at some point, we were a small family team, and he was doing all the tuning, and it was a 3-man crew. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? Let me do the clutch. So that's when I started. And then we had our own shop and a rebuild shop, and I became the one that did all of the mechanical work in the shop. And I literally saw every clutch from like a 40-year period. Like people would send in clutches that should no longer, most people would say, put that thing in the dumpster. It's a boat anchor. It's old. It's ancient. Get it out of here. And I rebuilt those things. So it's kind of a degree in reverse engineering is what I like to call it. So before I really ever saw jewelry that is clutch technology that I see today, I saw the worst of the worst and things that were worn out, and I rebuilt them. So it was its own education.
Wow. So when you say like 40-year-old stuff, was that kind of the beginning of the adjustable or slipper clutch technology? Is that kind of where it started?
It was. I can unfortunately tell you everything you ever want to know about a soft lock or a long style clutch very intricately.
Okay.
So, yeah, so
Wow.
it's funny kind of like looking back, like I have a Ricky Smith Pro Stock shirt on right now. So it's kind of funny looking back in the day, and you would see these guys like pulling their motors and they still have the clutch hanging off the back of them while they're pulling them. And you see an old haze or a soft lock, and it's like somehow for whatever reason I have all this knowledge in my brain that like I completely understand the soft lock and that old school technology, and I have this wealth of knowledge that people don't have, and that's very strange for me. So it's I don't know. So yeah. Like, yeah, the old long style. So yeah, I got to see
Yeah.
like adjustable clutches from their infancy and rebuild them. So it was very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. Real quick, so, your audio is glitching out a little bit. Do you have any other apps open, like Facebook or anything on your? I think you're using your phone. Do you have anything else
Oh,
open?
yeah, I'm sure. I do have lots of things open.
Yeah, if you sometimes closing those tends to help.
It was probably the static from the cat. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me close everything.
Yeah,
I'm
yours
one of
seems
those
okay.
1,000 cats. I can do earbuds too.
Say it again.
I can do earbuds too.
It's not that. It's like the bandwidth. It's just getting glitchy because the bandwidth is maybe not so good. So I was just thinking if you have other stuff open, it's maybe hogging some of the bandwidth. If it's closed, it might help.
Closed everything.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. So Rich, what was the first adjustable clutch that you had? Was it like a soft lock or?
No, it was from Rob Youngblood. Actually, it was a twin 8-inch that that honestly I really struggled with getting it to work. And then I went back to a diaphragm and um, what do you call it? A door opener.
Clutch tamer.
Oh yeah, the
Clutch
clutch
Yeah.
tamer.
tamer.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I
Nice.
went, yeah. And then I went to a single 11-inch. And
hmm
what I learned there, I went back and tried the Youngblood again and understood, that um, not many people were doing what I was doing. So I was going to have to figure out some of that stuff myself. 4,000 pounds in a stick car, most of the stuff that Tinzy works on is probably a little lighter than that and probably more horsepower back then.
And honestly, like it really, you could have the same car, same setup, and two cars will react differently. So whatever clutch you put in, like we've had customers that built identical cars, did all the things, and for whatever reason, you know, clutch was not the same. So that's a value. That is a variable in the whole thing. So, but you have to figure out, like,
Yes,
it's not about what everyone else is
I was just
doing.
going to say,
What
especially,
works best for your setup?
Yeah. So, so there's been like, I know Pat Norsha at Ram. I've
hmm
worked with him on my current clutch setup. Cause I bought some secondhand, I think they're Defiance. Isn't that what I have, Rich? Like I should know. Yeah. I bought some secondhand Defiance from, a friend of mine in Denver here. And then I've worked with Pat on, just, setup and getting weights and stuff like that, the tungsten, material for it, just because I needed more weight. But my understanding with doing a lot of R&D with the diaphragm stuff and the clutch controller that I developed is the, what do they call it? The bell. Like when they do a batch of discs, they want them in
hmm
the same bell, like in the same batch, because sometimes the location in the bell or where they are, or the batch to batch, the coefficient of friction is different. Is like, how true is that? Like, you guys buy a whole batch of discs, right? When you do the pro stock stuff?
I mean, so yes. So the main consistency with disc materials is, the iron mixture, right? That's why you see disc, so they have date codes on them, and that tells you when that iron was mixed. Now, I don't want anybody to freak out and, say, "Oh, I have this date code and that date code," because it really doesn't, it's not as crucial as you think it is. Yes, it is. That's more of a tracking point for the disc manufacturers. If they have something that goes, something that
Okay.
happens, there's a quality control issue, they can look back and say, "We know what date this iron was mixed. We know exactly where, different materials that we had in it, where we had what our suppliers, who were our suppliers at that point in time." So that's more of a quality control point for the disc manufacturers themselves. So yes, so it depends. So a bell of disc, there's roughly about 40 in there, and everybody thinks that, like, oh, when that was made, all the Rockwells are the same, and it's not. So the position of the disc in the bell does make a difference. So you have different Rockwell numbers. You can have the same disc in the same bell with different Rockwell numbers. So really, at the end of the day, I
Mm.
think it's more of quality control. And back in the day, pro stock people used to get all in humidity and different things do affect the bell and when it was made. But I can consistently say that we see, more fluctuation with our disc when it comes to the materials at the time. And sometimes that is not something that anyone can control. So,
So walk me through. Sorry, Rich, did you have a question?
no, you go ahead.
Walk me through how a sintered iron disc is made. Like, you have the base metal, which looks like copper, but I'm sure it's steel. And then they mix up like a paste, and then it's like, just go through that. Like, I've never seen one made. So
so it's a powdered material. And each different compound has its own, chemical components, different powders that make up that specific compound. So it's a powder formula. It gets put into a press. It gets pressed into a wafer, and it gets put. So you have your center, your core, and then you have a powdered friction material. Powders that get put into wafers that get pressed onto it, and then from there it goes to the bell, and then onto the finishing process.
and just so that people don't know, the bell is basically a giant kiln, right? It just bakes
Yes,
them, like maybe an
it
autoclave or
does.
something.
It does, yes. It pretty much bakes
Okay.
all of that metal, and makes it cohesive to the core and turns it into a product. And then from there, it gets, turned down and finished. After that, it gets, has a final cut. So yeah, it's pretty much just a basic, a huge oven. It's a pretty cool thing to get to witness, like to watch this. I don't even know what the temperature is, but to see this massive fucking just, oven pull up off of, all of these discs that basically just went through this, metallurgy process to become what we run today. So it's powdered iron, it's centered iron, and it's powder. So
Wow. Okay.
How many how many different companies actually make discs? Is there like three,
um
or is there
no, we
substantially
only
more?
have two in the United States.
Hmm.
Yep. We only have
So
two.
who is
So
that? Is it Ace? Is it Ace and Bonafonte?
yes, that's correct. So we used to have Raybestos, and pretty much Bonafani assumed Raybestos. Like the clutch world is very small. I'm not going to get into the politics of the people, but it's a very small circle of people.
Politics, weird. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of politics.
Huh. So okay, so there's two manufacturers for clutch discs basically. And I'm sorry you broke up, but do they also make, well, I guess OEMs don't really run sintered iron except maybe like heavy equipment or something, is that right?
Probably, most likely, you still have, the brake pad market. You still have the truck
Now
market.
you're breaking up too,
You still
or
have some
I'm
friction
missing.
materials in the truck market, brake
Looks
pads,
like it's
different
my
stuff like
connection.
that.
So those two guys make that stuff too?
Yes. Well, yes, Ace actually came from the truck market. They actually were making, clutches and products for over the road trucks. That's where they came from. So they weren't even involved in racing
Wow. Okay.
until Chris Bell came along running pro stock. And he kind of he was local to the area and became involved and wanted them to have a racing program. So some of the first pro stock clutches that you ever saw in the modern era that, weren't the long styles, weren't the Hayes, weren't the AFT, Ace was involved in that with Chris Bell.
Okay. S- So the early guys ran a dump truck clutch is what you're saying.
No. So, funny fact, a lot of people don't know this. So, funny fact, we all talk about, we think diaphragm is OEM, right? Everyone thinks that.
Yeah.
So, can I
Yeah.
ask you guys, do you think a long style was ever in production in an OEM car?
I'll let
I'm
Rich
gonna
go
say
first.
no,
I
but
think yes, in the early yeah, I think early V8 stuff I think was,
In the
but I don't know, and I
70s.
couldn't give you a date. Maybe the
It was the Schaefer. It was called
70s, really?
yes, it was a Schaefer clutch, and it was in production before the diaphragm in OEM.
Hmm. Okay. Wow. Okay. Nice. Nice. Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
okay. I got a question on discs. So I've tried different discs before. None of them successfully. But do you see many like I don't know, maybe it's pro stock teams and stuff. 5135 is where I always ended up, but I think I've tried like a 5190 and just drove, barely got home on that one. After one trip to the track. I know Bill's tried to like a
50,
5190
50,
and a 5135.
and a 50-50. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
back.
we lost her. Okay, there she is.
Yeah.
Now we got two. Now we got two. Hold on. There we go. Bill's got it sorted. Did you hear my question, or did we lose you?
No, you lost me.
So my question was on disc, like 5135s compared to 5050s compared to 5190s. Do you see many people running the other ones other than 5135?
Yeah, so everything in your so clutches are pretty much, applied pressure and friction coefficient. The reason why you see so many people running a 5135 is because you guys are limited on bell housing space. If everyone that ever contacted me could put whatever bell housing they could put in their car, you would see hardly anyone run a 5135. It's the highest friction of coefficient. It's very aggressive. It's not that it doesn't have its purpose. It's just it is very hard on surfaces. It's brutal. It kills your facings, and it's less consistent. So like a 5191. When we get to the other spectrum and we can start running multiple discs instead of having one or two, which you guys are limited to, it's a much more friendly compound that accepts and does better with heat. And it has more predictability. The 5135 has its purpose. Like you could take a customer who has a 5191 or a low friction setup, send it back in for a rebuild, and it's not going to be that bad. I can have a customer with a 5135 because that's all they can run, and their surfaces are murdered. So it's just not a very friendly compound.
Mm. So, okay, so if Rich or I had room to run a dual disc setup, what compound could we run that would still hold the power of a single 5135?
I mean, we can. It depends. So what clutches are you guys running now? You have single disc, what, 1011s?
I have just a single 11-inch. So I have a Defiant and a Next Gen, and they're both single 11-inch.
Yeah, and I have a Defiant, a single 10-inch, 6-lever.
6-lever.
Yeah,
The
mine are
6-lever
both
helps you.
6-lever as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, we would decrease diameter, stay with the 6 levers, but go to a friendlier compound. So, but at the same time, though, like the 11-inch has its place, right? Like it's very forgiving. Um, Once you start to go to like multi-disc setups, you're adding in for what you guys do in their streetcars. The more variables that you start to have with surfaces, so now you have floaters that also might have wear issues that start to get cupped, right? So in some way, the 11-inch
Yeah.
long
Mhm.
style
Yeah.
is kind of a beautiful thing for streetcars. I love it.
Yeah, and I know that some people have had issues with the floaters hanging up as they get hot, and while you're driving them on the street a whole bunch. And yeah, I mean,
Well,
my young blood did. We had to open up the holes a bit, but
so not trying to say anything. The floater itself, there's a particular floater style and the engineering that I saw behind it that was not friendly and more conducive to doing that. Um, that's kind of one of the things that I
mhm.
saw in doing rebuilds. How the floater was designed. And then we also put in cutters or grooves that are supposed to just help dissipate heat. But if you put that cutter or that groove in the wrong place on a mechanical engineering standpoint of that, it actually weakens that particular part and makes it fatigue quicker and faster. So you have something that's seeing a lot of heat. If you cut a groove into it in a particular area, which is supposed to help you with heat and dissipate heat, but you put it in the wrong place, it actually makes that floater warp and distort and do things that it shouldn't. So
Yeah, so I guess it's similar to like a brake rotor, right? If you think of it like that, sort of, or not really.
yeah, it's very similar. I don't know. So another side of this is now that I'm like no longer doing that, but into see some of the stuff in the top fuel world, like that gets really crazy. Like you wouldn't think that. So they have a
Mm.
6 or a 5 pack clutch, and they've got floaters in there, and they have different compounds and different rock wells in different places in the pack, and they can have 3 floaters or have floaters with 3 cutters, as they call them, cutters. They can have 6. We've seen some really wild things with a lot of cutters, and depending on the width and the depth of the coater and how it's cut can make that disc either more or less aggressive. And it's a whole science that these guys do in Top Fuel and Funny Car, on cutter placement. And it's a pretty. I love that I didn't know any of this when I began and saw stuff in the shop that I saw things fatigued and at the end of their life, and now I see how that's applied as an actual tuning tool to this day.
Mm. So I'm guessing a lot of that, like you're talking about the different cutters, cutter count, depth, all that, that's probably held pretty close to the hip. Like they just don't advertise like, oh, hey, we did this and it works really well, right? They don't tell people that.
Yeah, different crew chiefs have their different opinions and different theories and stuff like that. Um, and I also so sometimes, and I have a limited amount of knowledge, right? And so many people in the pro world, they have what's up here and they have notebooks, and like we do have a lot of data acquisition. We live and die by data acquisition and what we know. But those guys also have friction dynos that they run. And and the friction dynos have got spacers in them to replicate a floater. And so I don't know, I was having a conversation. I said, do you guys ever replicate on the friction dyno your cutter patterns in your floaters? No, we don't do that. We have enough data in our books. We don't have to do that. So it's like, why don't you do that? Just stop.
Interesting.
Yeah. How does it like we know
Yeah.
it changes something. It makes the friction compound do something different, but to what extent? Data is everything in this game.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
Sure. Yeah,
Interesting.
that's the interesting part. Like when I was talking to Clay and his the girl that was doing his clutches at the time, watching them pull it apart, reface them, and even how the clutch is engaged on those things is just fascinating.
Yeah,
Like
it
it's
really is.
progressive. It's interesting that it's it's almost like your clutch controller bill, because it
Yes.
literally uses the throw bearing to slowly keep engaging
Yes.
more discs. And I was like, damn, yeah, it really even doesn't even have a transmission other than a reverser. Like the
Exactly.
discs and yeah, it's so cool when
Yeah.
you start
And shout out to
digging into that
Kaylin.
stuff.
Shout out to Kaylin. She's one of my fellow clutch girls out there. I love her. She's moved on to doing stuff in IndyCar. I miss her. I miss getting to go say hi, and we would have our little chats in the back of the trailer. And how's your life going? How's your life going? What's going on over there? How's things? So yeah, she's another cool human. That's kind of another point I wanted to make was that, the BangShift Billy, what you guys, having a controller, that's a bleed down from Top Fuel technology. Like, those guys have, a stage system that brings the clutch in, and essentially, it's the same thing.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
I'm flattered. That's not where I got the knowledge. I just had an idea, but
Yeah, but
happy accident, I guess, right?
yeah, happy accident, but it's still kind of it's the same idea, you're trying to manage you're trying to, everything is energy. So you have X amount of energy coming off of the back of that engine, and you're trying to figure out the best way to possibly management through from the crank to the tire. And that's what you're doing. They have a different way of doing it, but you've come up with a concept that kind of does the same thing in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the other piece that's like when you say two of the same cars, but they act differently. I mean, hydraulic clutches or hydraulic throats to mechanical throw bearings to launch RPM to the amount of power at the launch.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's just so many variables that I mean, I've been working on the same car for a long time, and it seems like every year I'm figuring something out. But it's just pretty wild, all the different technology.
Yeah, and it's really crazy because
Yeah.
we see, we have 7 to 9 cars in Pro Stock. We see so much data. And when you see one of our cars qualify at the top and another one that doesn't, a lot of people like can't even fathom. Like we have enough cars, enough data to understand this, but sometimes it's just a set of tires. It's literally just a set of tires. You have some tires that are better, and that's it. We analyze all of the variables with the microscope, and it's sometimes when you realize that just a set of tires can be an entire difference in your tire program.
Wow. Do you see, sorry, go ahead. No. Do you see, so Pro Stock runs a big bias ply tire right now. Do you ever see, or is anybody experimenting with a radial on those things?
No, but it'd be fun.
Fair enough.
We have some of our guys, crew chiefs, tuners that are crossovers. Let's make that a new variable. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of, you don't have any tire speed with a radial. I mean, you don't want it to slip. It's got to be all in the clutch.
yeah, and that's kind of another point like I wanted to make about like what you guys do versus like what we do. Like we have a limited amount of horsepower. Everything that we do has to be right. That car has to be happy. That car has to, shocks, chassis, suspension, all of it. we are maximizing out of the rest of it. Like, we're getting all that we can get out of that race car. And I think that that's something that, stick shift guys, you have unlimited power. Yes, you're at the point now where you have great clutches, you have great transmissions. I don't know where you are in your like shock packages, but getting your car and your chassis to work is probably more important than the thing that you have in your bell housing. As long as the thing in your bell housing is doing exactly what it's supposed to do every time you want it to do it, it's consistent, and it's not it's a good piece, it's not going through mechanical wear or fatigue, then your car setup and your chassis is more important than the thing in the bell housing.
Yeah, I would agree. It seems like it's so easy these days to make gobs and gobs of horsepower, but if the chassis and the shock program isn't where it needs to be, it doesn't make any difference. Like that stuff is so important.
Yep, yep, that's the core.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. What I was going to say earlier, to your point, Tinzy, is when you change one part on your car and you think you've bought the same part from the same manufacturer, so it should act the same. It's amazing how often some of that stuff bites you. Like,
Yep.
whether it's the tire compound that you thought you were using, or if the tire's a little older than the last set, or, you put on a new, I don't know, another different widget and you think it's the same one that you just took off and it
Mhm.
acts differently. Yeah, there's so much to a big program, probably like you've been part of, that I mean, it bites us little guys all the time. So I'm sure you guys fight with it on a regular basis too.
Yeah, you do. Especially like, post COVID, everything changed. You could get the parts from the same people and they're not the same. That's sourcing raw materials and that's out of control of a lot of people's hands, for manufacturers. Things like that bite you. That's part of our industry we don't have any control over.
yeah. It seems like there was a huge disc shortage there right around COVID times. Like I think I waited 16 weeks for discs at some point. In fact, I forgot I even ordered them. And all of a sudden
Yeah.
this box of like 8 discs showed up. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I was like, oh, that was like 3 or 4 months ago I ordered these things.
Yeah. 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 Unfortunately, it's just, raw material supply. And, COVID changed everything. There were certain places people were buying materials from that either you were being told you're getting the same material, or, you have a middleman that you're buying stuff from that's telling you, yeah, this is the same, this is what you're getting, and it's not. Or there's just a complete shortage altogether, on getting those materials. And like, you also have to realize how much it affected businesses. Like, Bonafani, like the majority of their business is Top Fuel and Funny Car. Well, what happened during COVID? That, we couldn't race, we
Nothing.
couldn't go to
Yeah, it all
racetracks.
shut down.
Yeah. So it was
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
a global crisis for everyone on getting parts, making parts. Yeah. So
Hmm. um, so I know in pro stock, you guys you have different setups for the clutch, but you're also changing gears in the gearbox.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
how much I'm not even sure how to phrase this question, but how many changes do you make to gears versus clutch setup? And do they kind of go together? Like, and
Yes.
that's going to
Yes.
lead to my next question, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So we have a crew chief lounge with some of the brightest minds on the planet. There's 6 or 7 of them sitting up there constantly watching the weather. And we've got a track guy that's reporting back as well. And we have a lot of data that is compiled. We have a big screen that everybody can look up and see the data that's going on. And you literally have a crew chief that is waiting until the last minute to give you your transmission sheet. My clutch call is made
Mm,
typically in the staging lanes. So I get my final, I'm like, hey, can you get me close, please? Like, am I gonna have to make and we know throughout the day when the weather's changing, we're gonna have to, make a big swing or not. I'm anticipating that. Um, but I think one of the craziest, wildest things I think I've ever experienced in the clutch, like clutch world and pro stock, is it's often if we sit there for a while, you're gonna get a transmission call, and then if we sit there for too long, you're gonna get another one. Well, I forgot what race we were at, and I looked out and I was like, it looks funny outside. Like I don't know, the light, something looks funny. And I'm like, oh, we're having an eclipse. We're going through an eclipse. And everybody was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. We're having an eclipse. This is awesome. It kept getting darker and darker, and it was kind of a thing. And we had an eclipse transmission call. Everybody had to pull their stuff back out. Once our head crew chief, Mark Ingersoll, figured out there was an eclipse happening, he said, everybody go pull your trans. You got new trans sheets. Because the track temperature is not progressing. It's not the heat that we're anticipating. We have to run in 30, 45 minutes. So the track temperature is changing, and he's going off of his data that's going to say, okay, it's going to improve. This is what's happening in the temperature trend. Well, that's no longer happening. So it affected track temperature. So we all got the call to pull trans, and we got re-geared.
So when the track is cooler, I'm guessing you can get more aggressive with it because it's not greasy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
all gearing.
And so would that be, would you go to a lower numerical gear so you can accelerate quicker? That's a tricky way to ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
So if
And
you
it
would you go like from a 271 to a 250 first gear or something because you want the car to accelerate quicker? That makes sense.
And it also depends, and we have so many cars with what tires. We have so many cars, so many tires. So what tires get wheeled over to you, your gearing is going to be different. So when you swap tires, you got to swap gear. So there's a lot
So
of variables that go
when you
into
say
it. A
swap,
lot.
wow. So when you say you swap tires, like a fresh set or different heights, I mean, you're not juggling tire sizes. They're all the
All
same
the
size,
variables.
aren't they?
All the variables. Some of them different. Some of them are different in size. Some of them are different in weight. We have to weigh our tires every round. Like if our crew chief says, hey, you're going to run this set, they roll a set over to you. I have to weigh them because they could be 10 pounds heavier or 10 pounds lighter. So when my car goes across the scales, I need to add 10 pounds or take 10 pounds out so I don't get tossed out. So some of them are bigger, and it's really, tire is a whole science within itself. Whether we run a fresh set
Wow. You're
on
like
a hot
blowing my
track,
mind.
we run a fresh set on a hot track, we run an old set, the size, the weight, all of it. Like we might have a set of tires that's really good on a hot racetrack because it has a lot of grip, but you're not going to run as fast out the back. So it's a whole, tire is a big deal. Tire is the end point of everything.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's everything that puts it down. The tire to the track is where it all happens, right? You just,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. Huh. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought. I never even thought about like weighing tires. Of course, we can't. We can't be switching tires all the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, in your world,
We-
everything's game, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
It is.
And it's funny to hear you say that you guys are so close to the weight limit that you would choose one tire over another because of 10 pounds. Like if I
Um,
could give up 10 pounds, that would be
no, we don't.
amazing.
We
But
don't like choose one tire or another over like the pound. It's just that your crew chief might decide he wants you to run a certain set, and I have to weigh them so I don't get tossed, right? Because like if we go across the scales light, right? Like yeah, we're within 5 to 10 pounds of we are so close to making weight, and I sometimes have to ask my driver, "Did you eat today? Have you eaten? Are we going to be 5 pounds light? Did you eat?" Like,
did you have the double
Like you were in the
cheeseburger or just the salad?
yeah,
yeah,
you were in the bathroom for a long time. Yeah.
yeah. And exactly. There's nothing worse than going to like number two. You run a number, you go to the top, you're at number two, and you got to look at your driver and go, "Did you eat? Are we gonna? Are we gonna make weight? Are we good?" Yeah. So
Wow. Wow. Huh.
How much horsepower do the Pro Stocks make
I think we're
roughly?
on like 14 something roughly. Yeah,
and it's all NA, correct?
all in
Like
it.
those are the big motors, 700
500.
cubic inch
We're
motors.
500 inch, so NH race still 500 inch. Yeah, so 500
Oh,
inch.
okay. Okay.
Mount Motor Pro Stock's 8.
That's a pretty good number.
Yeah, Mount Motor Pro Stock I think is like 830s these days. They make about 2,000 horsepower. They make more torque than what we do. So
Hmm.
Geez,
Crazy.
that's crazy. Eh? 3 horsepower
Yeah.
per cube.
Yeah. I could be wrong about honestly,
Yeah,
I'm
but
not gonna
aren't
lie.
they spinning like
I could be wrong about our horsepower numbers. I don't really pay attention to it. You know?
Yeah,
okay.
that's not your jam.
Yeah, you might have
Yeah.
to edit that out. Honestly, I
So
don't know if I even quoted that correctly.
so let me ask, this is a selfish question. So if you had a drag and drive setup like Rich or I,
Oh my god.
when gear changes in the transmission are not an option, when they're not an option, like where would you even begin with the clutch setup on a car like ours? Because like, there's always a question, well, more, 4 or 5 turns of base and X, counterweight. My understanding is if it's slipping in fourth gear, you keep adding weight. But
Right.
I guess the real argument always comes down to how much base to put in it. And I know like Rich, what do you like, a quarter turn of base? And on the street, you're like
Yeah.
a full, all the base on the street, but at the track, it's almost nothing. So talk about that. Like, yeah.
Well, you guys are kind of hitting on like one of my bucket list items here. So, um, one of my dream, something that I think would be cool to do in my career before I quit doing this is to, and I don't even know what class it would fit in, is to have like an old school Fox Body Pro Stock car, like an old Ricky Smith, Fox Body Pro Stocker, with the Liberty in it and a clutch, and team up with somebody like Nicole Liberty, to be a 2-girl on the road doing drag week together. And we would be making gear changes. Would be pulling trans in a parking lot, like the two of us together. I think that would be awesome. Um, so that's kind of like my dream. Like I've never driven anything and I never really have wanted to. That's something that people find interesting about me is like I love the mechanical side of it, but it would be cool to work with somebody like Nicole and do that in old school nostalgia pro soccer. Like I think that would be awesome. But for you guys and what you're doing, since you can't change transmission, you can't do that. So your clutch is wearing the entire time. So it's you finding your own happy spot on what you need to do eventually. I don't know. You have X amount of limitations and it's figuring out your own program and what you think you need to change on that day. And the track, that's the tricky part about what y'all are doing is that it's changing track to track. It's changing, when you're on the road, what's happening to your clutch. Each pass, what's happening to your clutch. So eventually you have
Yeah,
to find
because
the
we'll
happy
put
spot of adding in more bass or counterweight and taking that away.
yeah. Yeah. So I guess when you have more base, so if you go from a quarter turn of base to 2 turns of base, if the track will hold it, it's going to hit the tires much harder with more base, right?
Yes, correct. Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Correct. You have more
So I
initial
guess as
pressure.
track conditions, yeah. So as track conditions get better, and to make the best 60 foot, providing the motor has the power, you want to just crank in more and more base
Yes.
until it won't hold anymore, right?
Yes. You don't want the
Okay.
engine to fall on its
Got it.
face. You don't want to overpower the tire. You don't want to underpower the tire. It's finding like the
Yeah.
happy medium of that initial, these clutches are just counterweight and base. It's applied pressure. Your counterweight pressure is a fluctuating variable with RPM. Your base is always consistent. So
hmm
it's there no matter what.
Yeah, it's interesting on mine. And chatting with Ben Strader, it seems like the math almost works out that if you can set your launch RPM, your base weight, and the counter at that RPM, right around the horsepower that the car makes, that seems like a good starting point. So I pretty much have like 1,500 pounds of clamping force. That's
Uh-huh.
with like hardly any base and lots of counter because going through the traps at 170 plus miles an hour in a 4,000 pound car, it just needs a
Uh-huh.
lot of counterweight to make that thing work. But
Yep.
yeah, it's interesting how that number for some reason seems to work out as a good starting point, anyways. But
Yep.
do you remember where you ended up, Bill, on yours? Are you somewhere around there?
I wish I could tell you. I need to go look at the numbers to see how much counterweight I have and how much clamp force that is, and then the base. But I have to go look at my notebook. But I know I'm not like a quarter turn of base. I'm more than that. I might be like a full turn. But this last season was the first time I'd had one of these adjustable clutches. So like, I feel pretty glad we even got it to work at all. Yeah, we'll be definitely making some adjustments this year and just see how the car reacts. Cause I feel like we got the suspension. I see that. I feel like we got the suspension and stuff working pretty well. And we'll just kind of see what happens. And you're back,
I'm back.
I think. There we go. Okay.
Your
Yeah,
audio
we were
is still
just,
glitching a bit, but I'm not sure if that's just your internet or if it's your computer.
I think she's just on her phone, which is
Yeah.
probably cleaner than hotspotting into her laptop.
Yeah. Still in the
So
middle of nowhere.
AT&T
So.
didn't do her favors today. Yeah.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
they
it
did
doesn't
not.
sound like AT&T did you any favors today.
No, I came home from a race and I had no internet, and I'm like, "What's happening?" So they're like, "Oh, we no longer." I was on the phone for an
Yeah,
hour and 40 minutes for them to tell me, "Oh, we no longer offer that service in your area." So
that's
Probably.
super helpful. Yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, I had a really good clutch question too. It'll come to me. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, so one of the other questions I've written down here is, so there's a number of choices for adjustable clutches.
yes.
Is any design, in your opinion, better than another, like twin disc versus a single, large diameter versus smaller, like a twin 8 or a single 10 or an 11 or twin 10? Like, I don't even know what they all are, but is there some, in your opinion, that are better than others, or can they all achieve the same thing in the end?
There are some that are better than others. It all depends on what you have to work with on your car, bell housing wise. How much you're willing to work is another one. The long style is very forgivable. So you can run a whole season. Most people you see will run a whole season, never have to touch it, other than adjusting base and count. Once you start, can you guys still hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. It's saying reconnect, but I'm still here, obviously. Um, so So once you start progressing and you want to go to a multi-disc unit and you want to step up to something a little bit different, it depends on you how much you're willing to work on that. Um, and what your goals are for your car is pretty much so. As you've seen with the stick shift class, you still have some people that are running fast with a 11-inch long style, and you have other people that are going to more advanced setups with multi-disc, more of the pro style like what we do. And they have kind of a stage system on that as well. So typically in general, multi-disc systems, when you're looking at it just overall as far as performance goes, is better, right? But it honestly depends on what you're trying to do, what your goals are, and how much you're willing to work on it or not, and that's fine. So the long style is still a very friendly
So
unit.
like, yep. So like for a drag and drive setup where I don't know how practical, like you'd have to be crazy to have to pull that transmission every round or, drive it hundreds of miles on the street and then pull it to redo the clutch at the track. Like
Right.
that's not the amount of work I want to do.
Yeah.
But is that kind of what you're talking about? That's what would be required to really make a multi-disc setup work really well, is you'd have to resurface it after the street drive to make your passes, that kind of thing.
It honestly just depends on how much heat you get into it, how much it gets glazed. It that's the beautiful part about a clutch is you can lock it up on the straight. Much base and counterweight you can throw at it, lock it up, and then when you go to the racetrack, do something different. Um, but yes, it's more about ring height. So adjusting ring height along the long style is forgivable on ring height. It doesn't when it wears, it doesn't affect your lever position as much versus, a pro style clutch. Now you've changed how that clutch is reacting altogether when the ring height changes. And it's much more finicky, very finicky. So unless you want to stay on top of that, and that became a thing in the whole, the H pattern stick shift class is there was guys that were willing to put in the work. I've had a couple of customers that came to the racetrack when I was in the area, looked at the pro stock car and was like, wow, like I realized what I need to do to make changes on my race car. But you still have to adjust ring height, especially on like I'll call it an over the cover lever design. Like ring height is more crucial on how that lever reacts each time. If it's not exactly reset up the same way, it's not going to do the same thing. Versus the long style, you can kind of just, look the other way when it comes to ring height. It's still going to do exactly what you want it to due to the lever design of it. So,
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. Like when I first put on the Defiant with my car in a single 11-inch, it just did not feel like those fingers were aggressive enough for my setup. It seemed like every couple of passes, I would have to add more counterweight. I had like 240 grams on that clutch to get it to work. And so finally, I just modified the fingers myself and made them look a little bit more like a next gen. And now I've got it working for me with about 160 grams. But um, that for sure, I know that Pro Stock, like you guys change fingers designs, but typically our clutches come with one set of fingers, and
yep.
if you don't like it, well, that's too bad, unless you're going to get your welder out like I did. But
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do you?
I know what I was going to ask
Sorry.
you.
Yeah.
So when you're when they're designing a clutch, or when you're looking at clamp force, do they do most of it by math, or is there clutch dynos at some of these places so that they can tell what the applied pressure is? You get a chart with all the numbers on it, but is that math, or are they actually proving that out with a clutch dyno?
Both. Yeah. So both. It's math. It's pretty crazy. There's some people out there who can actually predict that stuff. Just that, I know one guy who's very good at physics, that's designed some of his own stuff, and it's like he can pretty well predict a clutch lever design and what it's going to do. That's pretty wild to me. But yes, that's backed up by the clutch dyno. So in a clutch dyno, you do 3 or 4 or 5 different pulls. You do it with no counterweight. You put on, 10 grams, and then you start doing increments of that. So you start to see, you get like a bell curve of the applied pressure on it. And to think that people back in the day did this with nothing, but now we do have this technology where you can spin a clutch, you can make a change, you can design a new lever, see if your predictions on what it's going to do are right. And it goes back to, it's crazy. I always said the story about the top fuel guys. And do you guys, when you're on your dyno and your floaters, and they're like, no, we just have that in our head. There's guys out there that just have that in their head. Um, so that's kind of a interesting thing too.
Okay. So here's another question. So like Rich and I both have a 6 lever clutch. Is it important that the counterweight be the same on all 6 levers, or can you do 3 of one and 3 of the other? And will that?
No, as
I
long as it's
imagine that would
balanced.
adjust how the clutch comes in, right?
It does, yeah, because it's applying more pressure in one area and less in another. But as long as it's balanced, no, it doesn't matter.
Is there
So
an
that
advantage to doing that?
depends on what you're trying to do. I had actually had a conversation with somebody about that, because people get into some really wacky theories and ideas. Like I've had guys tell me, "Oh, I'm only running like 4 levers," or blah blah blah, and for whatever reason, it works. In At some point, like I had to really think about that. And it's like, okay, maybe you do have too much friction coefficient. And when you're doing that, you're taking away some of the applied pressure that's making up for having too much friction coefficient, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you've got to, like, if a 5135 is super aggressive, you've got to take the pressure away somewhere to make it work. But then what happens to the coefficient of friction goes up as that disc gets hot, right? So the more you
Yes.
slip it, the worse it gets,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why you got to take some away from it.
Okay.
And so if you as far as finger design, I know that I've tried putting weights on the inside. I don't know that it made any difference, but what is the purpose of that? The weight on the inside, is it to counterbalance it, or is it just another place to add weight? And as long as it's higher than the fulcrum, it will do the same thing.
So
It will apply pressure, or does it count?
theoretically, it's supposed to be like a counterbalance. So if you have a lever, right, and it's throwing itself, and it depends on where, okay. So if you put the weight here, 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 it's going to affect and change how slow or how quick that lever comes in, right? So having hanging
yeah.
weight on the outside. So as a fulcrum, and you got weight back here and it's pulling, and you put weight also here to counteract it, it can slow or change how quick or how slow that lever comes in.
Mm.
Yeah. That's where you really need a clutch dyno if you're not good at
Yeah.
math and physics.
And I
'Cause it's
honestly
like,
don't know.
yeah,
Okay, so spinning lawn style, especially like old school lawn style clutches, was very sketchy because they are not balanced. Like it's a stamp steel cover. They're not balanced. I don't know that anyone has ever done inboard counterweight on a dyno. So maybe that's something that, I know Ben Strader's working on a new clutch dyno. So maybe that's something that Ben can play with on we'll spin one of these modern day long styles and put some inboard on her and see what happens.
Hopefully he's got a concrete barrier and a thick window. It's man.
Yeah, so we had a clutch dyno walk across the room. Oh man. You think it's balanced and you run this stuff and you don't realize it's not balanced. And you got a machine spinning, anywhere from 6 to 10,000 RPM and it starts walking at you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's where you're looking for the big red button on the wall, right?
Yeah,
Shut it off,
yeah,
shut it off.
yeah. And then like realizing you don't have the big red button and it's plugged into the wall and you got to go hit the breaker, like start hitting breakers to shut the power. So
Oh my God.
yeah,
And then it still has to spin down. It's not like there's a brake on it, right?
yeah, no,
Yeah,
no,
that's just awesome. Yeah, sign me up for that.
yeah. Which having a break was actually something I suggested to Ben. Was like, "Ooh, how cool would it be?" And I don't even know what we would learn or if it would teach us anything. But what if you could put a brake on one to simulate like a shift or an RPM change? Like, would that be something that I've had several people tell me, "Oh, I don't think we'd really learn anything," but I do think that different pressure ring and lever designs do react differently with RPM changes. So, is that something that you could learn, simulating an RPM change on the dyno?
Yeah, because one of the things I noticed since going to a really aggressive diaphragm to this adjustable clutch is it's much easier on everything on the gear change because as the RPM drops, the clutch slips a little bit. So it doesn't just twist the input shaft, for example. And that's pretty nice. So, so yeah, definitely. It does have some effect, right?
Right. It does. Um,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
it would definitely be fun to play around with that.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I thought it was an interesting thing that should be looked at. Some people are like, I really don't know if that would tell us much, but you never know until you try it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I think there's
Huh.
still lots there. It's crazy how I know that there's new clutch manufacturers still coming out with different styles and stuff, and it's just amazing probably how far we still have to go to keep advancing these because yeah, it's pretty cool. What's the worst failure you've seen on a clutch on a road stock car? Have you seen one fly apart?
No, yeah, we don't really have that in our world. Like when I say our things are pampered babies, they're pampered babies. It's coming out every round and then maintenance happens, after every race. It gets looked at with a fine-tooth comb. We don't really see we hardly ever see parts failure. A lot of our parts and pieces have coatings on them, so they don't see for tear or, weeg, they don't see fatigue, they don't see wear. So yeah, it's looked over and really is some of the, I can't, talk about much or show people things, but I really wish sometimes I could because of just it's jewelry, it's clutch jewelry.
Hmm.
So, so if I hear you right, you don't drive it 3,000 miles, run a race over the course of a week, and then drive it 3,000 miles back home. You don't do something like
No. No. No, we don't.
okay.
No.
Okay.
But you
Because that
want
would
to.
be just because that would be just dumb, right?
Yeah. Could
But
you? Yes.
what I hear is you want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting you talk about ring height because one of the things that I'm always trying to do is figure out how I can do maintenance quicker. So I just added shims on my clutch so that I can loosen the bolts off, pull 12 shims out. Like I put in 30 thou ones. You could probably put in 20 thou ones, but 30 thou seemed like the right number for me. That once I'd wore it enough that I needed to pull out that much of a shim that it reset everything pretty good. So on the last event I did that, it worked really slick for me anyways, to be able to just loosen it off, pull those shims out and not have to pull a transmission, the bell housing,
Yes,
in order to do that.
the adjustable shim is genius. The adjustable shim that you can pull out is absolutely genius. Like, the fact that it took someone that long to figure that out, like, I saw that post and that photo, and I was like, "Yeah, that's brilliant."
Yeah,
Yay,
because I'm
Rich.
guessing you guys adjust ring height every time, and you just spin. You guys have dials on yours, right? Like they're just adjustable stands.
Yeah, we have adjustable stands and dial indicators. Yeah, so we have our own little method of doing it. One of our guys in the engine shop, who's one of our main engine builders, started out as the clutch guy, and we all do have the same process that he taught us, that you can put a clutch in very quick. You're not doing any guesswork. You're not calculating any math. We have a method the way that we do it where we can zero it very quickly. So yeah, but yeah,
But
the
that was part
adjustable
of the
shim
reason
thing.
that as far as the shims go, they're all 30. I don't have to measure anything. If I'm tired when
No.
I'm pulling the shims, as long as I pull them all, that's all that
Yep.
matters.
Yep.
So I
You're
can
good to go.
count to 12. Thankfully, that's yeah.
You do. You got 10 fingers and then 1, 2 hands. That gets you to 12,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. No, I honestly, that's a genius idea, and I think I might have to look at that too. Now I have a hydraulic. He's fully mechanical, so when you're just getting worn because you have to adjust your rod. But on the hydraulic one, like, it always stays in the same spot. It's just the fingers start moving out more. So I would have to look at doing that too. But 30 seems like it'd be a lot for mine. But
Yeah, well,
I'll
it's
figure
that
it out.
you're losing base pressure too. So I know that there's some math probably around how many passes, how many extra turns of base that you would need to kind of compensate for it. But um, what I've learned is that if I adjust the clutch rod too much and it falls out, then that makes a good viral video. And when I get out of the car and pop the rod back in, hop back in the car, which is cool and all,
Just
but
just
a little
after the
embarrassing.
burnout, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Why is that guy stuck to the track past the burnout bar? Yeah.
Funny.
Wow.
So you want to do a drag and drive with Nicole Liberty? That's
Yeah.
that's what I heard, right?
Yeah. Or my friend Crystal.
Okay, but
Either.
you want to do it in an old pro stock Mustang?
Hell yeah. If you could have like a Ricky Smith box body pro stock Mustang, that would be the coolest thing ever, I think. Stick car, Liberty, that would be awesome. And get to do it with, another woman just like myself who has her hands dirty every day. Like, she understands her craft, like, just as well as I do mine. And she's a clutch girl too. I just think that would be like just peak for me to be a part of something like that.
Yeah,
I
you
like that
definitely got to
idea.
make that happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to be there when that happens too. I'll have a clutch jack or a tranny jack with me, so we'll just shovel it over. But yeah,
Oh, Rich, these girls are gonna have the rods in the car where they could just slide the transmission back. They're not gonna
Yeah.
mess around with a tranny jack. Are you crazy?
I literally I literally have this. So one of our guys, Kyle, same guy that taught us how we have the way that we put the clutch in. He looked at me one day. I think I was working on Erica's mountain motor car, and we went mountain motor racing with Erica. And I was waiting for somebody to come help me with my bell housing, come help me move the transmission. And Kyle was like, "I'm going to show you a few tricks." And I said, "Okay." And he goes, "You don't need anybody to come get your bell housing." He goes, "Just spin it around, put it behind you." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I can just sit it right behind me." And then, like, I needed somebody to come help me move my trans. He goes, "You don't, you can do it yourself." He goes, "I know you think you can't." He goes, "But I used to be 130 pounds and I could do it myself." And I was like, "Okay." And he explained it to me. And I waited until we got back to the shop and no one was watching me in case I failed. But you pretty much just turn around, you straddle it, you use your arms like a lever system and put all of your weight on your arms, on your knees, and then pick it up and just pivot it over. And for a long time, I just slung my transmission around by myself. Like, I made a video of it, posted it, and everybody was like, "How do you do that?" And it's honestly just leverage. So
Well, I want I want the link for that video. We're gonna post that in the comments here
so
because
yeah,
I've not
no,
seen that. I want to see that.
yeah. So we're manhandling liberties all the time. As long as your car is set up to easily get it out and it's got sliders, she's coming out. So
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. Efficiency of motion. That's a huge piece of it, right?
it really is, like, and that's the whole thing, the thing about pro stock is that, we're maximizing horsepower efficiency, and we also sometimes only have 20 minutes to change a motor. So every single thing on that car, they're designed, even it's designed even to the point of what socket you're using and whether or not you have to change 2 or 3 sockets or just 2. On all of our bolts, all of our hardware, the amount of Zootzes I have to unfasten, that is all streamlined process. The less work that I have to do in between rounds, it's all about efficiency. It's all about, efficiency on how quick you can do everything. So they're built to come apart as fast as humanly possible. I've had a couple of
Yeah.
customers, from the stick shift world come over and look at things and go, huh, I think I can change my car up a little bit to get my transmission out easier. If I do need to pull my clutch or I do want to change a ratio. So they're all about efficiency.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. I've
impressive.
got my drag and drive set up the same way. Like I've got one little container that has everything in it to pull the transmission out. And I could tell you, like, there's a 9/16 hex head and a 1/2 inch, and that's about all I need to drop that tranny. But I've changed, just like you described, I've changed bolts so that they're not an odd size bolt, so that they're
Yep.
one of the sockets that I already have. So
Mhm.
it's interesting. It's interesting to hear you say that. Yeah, it all
And
matters.
and we
Doesn't matter
have
if
we
it's
have
pitch black and you're just trying to make it to the hotel.
And we have an entire
Sorry,
team
go
set
ahead.
up like that. Like, that's something that Richard Freeman, like, implemented within our team. You have X amount of cars, and any person from any car can go to another car and work on it. We've got our engine boxes, we've got clutch boxes, we've got our back half boxes, and they're all set up the same way. All of it is the same. So you can float to another car and use someone else's toolbox and tools and not be lost and know exactly what to do. Like, all of the cars are the same, everything's the same.
Yeah, it's funny.
You're like
I leave
it's like a
I
surgeon.
do.
Yes.
Yeah, I leave the house with all that stuff like that, but when I get back after the trip, they're never quite like that. It seems like
Yes.
all the two freaking all over the place. It's like two disasters is all it takes, and your organization goes out the window, and you just flip back to survival mode. But that
Yeah.
That
first
is a
time,
fact.
I'm ready. Yeah,
Yeah. We have certain
Oh
people that are
man.
responsible for the trailers that they drive, and we do mid-race, like, toolbox checks. Like, Travis will come around and be like, "I can't find this. Who has it?" Like, but you have to, with that many people and that big of an organization, you have to be that way for, like, to run flawless in the way that we do, you have to have that level of organization.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 20 minutes between rounds, it has to be like that, or it's not going to happen.
Mhm.
Like you're just not going to make it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you deal with the heat? Like, I mean, that
Ugh.
stuff's hot as blazes when it get. Yeah. So what do you do?
Phoenix was like 104 degrees. It actually changed our schedule a little bit, to move us up so we weren't running in that heat. But, it's weird to say we're athletes, but we are. I don't know, you get used to it. Kind of, take breaks and condition yourself. I take care of my body, try to work out. I do blood work frequently and I stay on top of myself. I do peptides. It's just conditioning.
Mm.
Um, that and your adrenaline's going and you love it. So,
So I guess I guess what I meant is just the heat of the clutch after a pass has got to be
okay.
super hot. How do you deal with that? Like you got to
It's
take it
not
all apart.
we have cooling plates. So in my trailer when I take it out, I've got a cooling plate and a fan. So you just pop your stuff on there and let it cool off and it's cooled down. It's cooled within 5-10 minutes, you're ready to cut. So yeah, the heat really isn't. But
Okay.
um
All
we
right.
do We do. So now Tony Stewart has a Top Fuel car and he's a part of our team now. And it's been interesting for us pro stock clutch guys to go over and watch them because they literally have to yell when they take the clutch out, hot plate, because it's 600 degrees and you're going to get burned if you accidentally run into one of your teammates. That stuff's wild. That stuff is really wild. Our stuff
Wow.
really doesn't get that hot. You know, sometimes we don't even wear gloves. You just grab it with a towel. But yeah, to have to watch them run around with the clutch going hot plate because you literally will melt somebody's skin off if you accidentally run into them. That's some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I
Wow.
watched Clay, I watched those guys when they broke it down. Yeah, they used tongs, and that was an interesting part. I saw them, they're yelling the same thing,
Yeah.
hot clutch, or whatever
Yep.
they're saying, and everyone's like,
Yep.
somewhere along the way, somebody got burnt pretty bad to
Oh, yeah.
make that rule for sure.
Yep.
Well, Rich, we've had her on here for an hour and 15 minutes. Should we ask her the questions?
Sure.
What?
I just gotta find them again on my phone here.
Okay, I'll start them while you're looking. How's that? Okay. Tinzy, what's the first car that you owned and or modified?
First car I owned was a 2000 V6 Mustang. I did not do anything to that car. Second car, it was a 92 GT Fox body. I still have both of them. My high school car, my first Mustang, it still only has 130,000 miles on it. And it's still stock, never been changed, and I'm never getting rid of it. My other one,
Okay.
unfortunately, this is my profession and this is my life, and it's so busy. I have a trunk full of parts and it's never been touched. It's a Garage Princess. And I'm looking forward to the day where I don't have outside projects constantly going on and to get a little bit more settled and I got a building I can work out of and I can start working on that thing. So
Nice. All right.
I'm not going to hold it against you that you drive nothing but Fords. But what's the next question here? What in your opinion has been the biggest technology change to move our sport forward?
I definitely say anything to do with data acquisition. I think data acquisition is probably one of the biggest factors in this sport is actually knowing what's happening all the time, is a huge factor. And then any development, I don't know, I have a different opinion because we're always researching different metals, materials, transmission technology, converter technology, clutch technology. There's a lot of different things, I think, but
Yeah, I think data is
Okay.
well,
Data's huge.
yeah.
No, she's still there.
Oh, I think she's still there. Yeah. Data's huge. All right. So we're gonna palm this into third gear, the third question.
Okay.
And this is the tough one. Hopefully you got to look at this one earlier. If you could spend one day with someone, who would it be and what would you do?
That is a hard one. That's a very hard one. I don't think there's very many people in racing I could say. I'm at this weird point in my life where I'm around I never thought I would be around the people that I am around every day. So I'd have to go with probably like an Einstein, definitely maybe Albert Einstein, and just sit there and listen to anything that he had to say and his viewpoint on, you know, just the world in general and philosophies that he has and the theories that he has. That's a man that, had a scientific theory about the world that no one understood at the time. And he had that all inside of his head. And I would just want to listen to as much as he had to say.
I like it. Yeah, I think that's good.
All right, we're gonna bang it into fourth gear now, and you shared it a little bit already. But what influences you to build your cars, or when you're going to build your car?
Honestly, just to enjoy it. There is something about like the way that it sounds and it feels when I start that car that I just love. It's a 92, so it's got a nostalgia feel to it. So just to be able to go out there, drive it, enjoy it. I don't know. It's kind of like I like to hike and do different things, and it's kind of along the same lines. It's just being able to check out and enjoy that, a beautiful vehicle to me. So
I like it.
Both of those Mustangs
right.
are stick. That's probably a silly
what's that?
question.
Yeah, it's
Are
a stick.
both Mustangs stick car?
No, the first one was an automatic. So I honestly wish my parents would have bought me like some beater 5-speed to learn to drive in, but they didn't. So the first was an automatic, but yeah, the Fox body's a stick.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So let's pop it into that overdrive in that Fox body, fifth gear. What, in your opinion, is the secret to stick shift racing?
Ooh, I think I kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. I think that the secret to stick shift racing is becoming very consistent with your race car. So that's working not it's it's power management. Clutch is a big deal, but having a chassis that is well lined out and being able to manage the horsepower with that car and being able to take the horsepower that you have and consistently and repeatedly do the same thing. I think that's probably like the biggest thing. So chassis, suspension, shocks, you have unlimited horsepower, that you can't always put to the tire. So being able to manage that and do it over and over again consistently, that's a big deal.
That's a very good point. Yeah, it used to be, we're all fighting with diaphragm clutches and, launch and bog and take off. But now it
Right.
seems like the clutch power management program's pretty good, but the chassis is where all of us stick guys need to continue to dial in. All right, we're going to go up into this or down into sixth gear in your future drag and drive car. But I don't know if you're going to have an answer for us on this one. Do you have a memory of making a pass in your first stick car, or
Nope.
you could probably, if you haven't been down the track, never
Yeah.
have, eh?
I've never staged a race. I've never staged a car on a racetrack, which is crazy. It's crazy. Uh, I've had a
Well, we
lot of
got to
people
get you.
ask me to
We
drive.
got to get you on track.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's one of the things people have always asked me is like, would you like to drive? What do was that your ultimate goal? And it's like, I love what I do mechanically. Like, I really do love it. Not that I wouldn't enjoy driving, but it's not, I don't know, that's not at the top of my list of, I love this sport for what it is, and I love getting my hands dirty. So
Awesome. I
Well,
love that.
you can get your hands dirty at the track. You back your shoot.
That's right. Um, okay, so Tinzy, let me get and feel free to tell people, but I'll type it in here too. Social media stuff where people can follow you. Instagram is what? Mother of Clutches, right?
yes, yeah, that's correct.
And do you have a Facebook page, or is kind of Instagram the go-to?
Yeah, I have Facebook as well, Tinzy Smith. A
Well,
little bit maxed out on
I didn't
friends.
hear that.
Yeah, I have Facebook as well. It's just, my name, Tinzy Smith.
Okay. And then do you have a YouTube channel?
No, I don't. I do not.
Okay. All right. Anything
And
else,
the
Rich?
team, the team that you are working with now, where can we follow them?
Elite Motorsports. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Elite Motorsports. And then my driver,
And
Greg,
that's
he does not have his own page. He is very non-social media. So just Elite Motorsports. So he's an OG. I get to work with an OG pro stock guy without socials.
interesting. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap this up unless you got something else, Rich.
No, I think we covered lots of good stuff there for sure.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
we definitely got to get her in at a drag and drive event now. That's like a mission.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe in my retirement.
Okay. There we go. All right. So obviously, you can find Clutch Burners podcast on YouTube and podcast platforms. If you're listening to it, you've already found it. And we would love to see you in some Clutch Burners merch. You can get a t-shirt over at stickracing.com, and you can also grab Stick Shift Nation merch there, shirts, hats, or stickers. So do it. And I think we'll wrap this up. Thank you, Tinzy.
Thanks again.
Yeah. Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
your time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.